My name is Sadie, and for as long as I can remember, I've lived in my sister's shadow. Claire is 3 years older than me. And from the moment she could talk, she was extraordinary. At least, that's what everyone said. Mom would smile and say, Claire had a special spark. Dad's eyes would light up whenever she walked into a room. Teachers loved her. Neighbors adored her. She was the kind of kid who got straight A's without trying, who became captain of the debate team in her sophomore year, who got a full scholarship to Columbia University. I wasn't jealous. I swear I wasn't. I just learned early on that being Claire's sister meant being okay with second place. And I was okay with it. Really, I found my own path. I studied hard, got good grades, maybe not perfect like hers, but good enough. I got into a decent pre-med program on my own merit. When I told Dad, he smiled and patted my shoulder and said, "That's good, sweetheart, real good." But it wasn't the same smile he gave Claire. It never was. With Claire, his whole face changed. He'd lean forward when she talked about her internships and her networking events and her big dreams. With me, he'd nod and say supportive things, but I could see it in his eyes. I was reliable, I was steady. But I wasn't special. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I was building my own life, my own identity. And for a while, that was enough. Then Mom got sick, breast cancer, stage 4. It happened so fast, like someone pressed a fast-forward button on our lives. One day she was fine, laughing in the kitchen, and the next she was in a hospital bed, thin and pale and fighting for every breath. I was 19 years old, home from college for winter break when she died. Claire flew in from New York, where she was already killing it at some big marketing firm. She stayed for a week, cried at the funeral, held Dad's hand, took some time off work. Then she left. "I have responsibilities, Sadie," she told me the night before she went back. We were sitting in Mom's kitchen, surrounded by casserole dishes from neighbors. I can't just pause my life. My career is at a critical point. You understand, right? I nodded because what else could I do? Claire had always been the one with the big future. It's the one who couldn't be slowed down. It's me. I was already at a local state school. I was already close to home. So it made sense, didn't it? That I'd be the one to stay. Dad fell apart after Mom died. He'd sit in his chair for hours staring at nothing. Some days he forgot to eat. Some nights I'd hear him crying in his bedroom. So I transferred to community college, moved back home, told myself it was temporary. I'd finish my degree later. Claire would visit more. Dad would heal. Things would go back to normal. But months passed, then a year, then 2. And Claire's visits became phone calls. Her phone calls became texts. And I realized something that made my chest ache. I'd put my life on pause. Nobody even noticed. I was 24 years old when Dad called me into the living room with a look on his face I'll never forget. "Sadie, honey," he said, and his voice cracked. "I need to tell you something." The doctor had found a mass in his lungs. Stage 3 cancer. Aggressive. The kind that doesn't ask permission. Just takes and takes until there's nothing left. I sat there on the couch, the same couch where we'd watched movies when I was little. I felt the floor disappear beneath me. "How long have you known?" I asked. 2 weeks. I didn't want to worry you until I was sure. 2 weeks. He'd carried. This alone for 2 weeks while I complained about my classes and my part-time job like those things mattered. Like anything mattered except the fact that I was about to lose the only parent I had left. I called Claire that night. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. When she answered, I could hear music and laughter in the background. She was at some work event, probably networking, probably being brilliant. "Claire, it's Dad," I said, and my voice broke. "He has cancer. Lung cancer, it's bad." There was a pause. I could hear her step away from the noise, her heels clicking on what sounded like marble floors. "God, Sadie, that's awful. How bad is bad?" "Stage 3. They want to start chemo right away. It's going to be expensive and he's going to need someone there for all of it. For everything." Another pause. Longer this time. Then she said the words that would change everything between us. Sadie, I'm in the middle of launching the biggest campaign of my career. Like, the biggest. I've worked 5 years for this moment. I'll send money, okay? Whatever he needs. But you're already there. You can handle this, right? You're so good at this stuff. Handle this. Like Dad was a project. Like his dying was an inconvenience that needed managing. Claire, he's our father. He needs both of us. And I'll be there. Promise. I'll visit as soon as I can. But right now, I just can't drop everything. You understand, don't you? I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her that I'd already dropped everything 5 years ago. That I'd put my life on hold while she built her empire. That I was tired of being the one who understood. But Dad was in the next room, probably listening, and I couldn't let him hear us fight. I couldn't let him know that his perfect daughter couldn't be bothered to come home, so I said, okay. I said I understood. I said I'd handle it. I hung up and sat on my bedroom floor and cried until I couldn't breathe. The next week, I withdrew from my nursing program. I was 1 year away from graduating. 1 year from having a real career, a real future. But the treatment schedule was brutal. 3 times a week, sometimes more. Dad would be too weak to drive himself. Too sick to be alone. I got a job as a medical receptionist at a clinic. It paid barely above minimum wage, but at least I understood the medical jargon. At night, I waitressed at a diner off the highway where truckers left decent tips. On weekends, I drove for a rideshare company until 2 or 3 in the morning. Every single penny went to Dad's medical bills, the copays. The medications insurance wouldn't cover. The special foods he could keep down. The heating bills because chemo made him so cold. I was 24 years old and I'd forgotten what it felt like to sleep through the night. Claire sent a check for $5,000. Then she posted a photo on Instagram of her and Dad from 5 years ago with a caption that said, "Praying for my hero." It's got 3,000 likes. Claire visited twice in 3 years. Twice. The first time, she showed up with a Louis Vuitton suitcase and guilt gifts. An expensive cashmere blanket for Dad. A Starbucks gift card for me. Like I had time to sit in coffee shops. She stayed for 48 hours and spent most of it on her laptop. Taking calls in the backyard because this deal can't wait. I watched her take Dad out to the garden for photos. She was wearing a cream-colored sweater that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. She positioned him just right, the afternoon sun hitting his face, making him look almost healthy, almost like he wasn't dying. "Smile, Daddy," she cooed, and he did. God, he let up for her in a way he never did for me anymore. She posted those photos everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. The captions killed me. Spending precious time with my father. Every moment matters. Family first, always. The comments rolled in. "You're such a devoted daughter. So lucky to have you. What a beautiful bond." I wanted to comment, "She'll be gone in 6 hours," but I didn't. Because what good would it do except make me look bitter? The second visit was worse. Dad had just finished a brutal round of chemo. He was so weak he couldn't get out of bed. His hair was completely gone. He'd lost 40 pounds. Barely looked like himself anymore. Claire walked into his room with flowers and her phone already out for photos. I watched her face fall for just a second when she saw him. It's just a flicker of shock, maybe disgust, before she plastered on a smile. "Oh, Daddy, look at you still fighting," she said brightly. Too brightly. That night I heard her crying in the bathroom. Not for Dad, I realized, but for herself. For having to see him like that. For having her perfect image shattered. She left the next morning instead of staying the week like she'd promised. "Emergency at work," she said, not meeting my eyes. "You understand." I always understood. What nobody understood was what it was like to be me. To be 26 years old and know exactly how to crush pills into applesauce because Dad couldn't swallow anymore. To recognize the smell of certain infections before the doctors did. To hold a bucket while your father vomits and apologizes. Between heaves. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," he'd whisper, tears streaming down his hollow cheeks. "I've ruined your life. Should be out there, living, not stuck here with a dying old man." "Stop it," I'd say, stroking what was left of his hair. "You didn't ruin anything. I'm exactly where I want to be." It was a lie we both needed. The truth was, I'd forgotten what I wanted. I'd forgotten who Sadie was outside of these walls. Outside of pharmacy runs and insurance appeals and learning to give injections without flinching. But here's what hurt most. What actually broke something inside me. Dad still talked about Claire like she hung the moon. Claire called today, he'd say, his whole face brightening. Big promotion. Director of marketing now. Can you imagine? My little girl running an entire department in New York City. "That's great, Dad," I'd say, crushing his pills. "She works so hard. I worry about her. You know, all that stress." I told her she needs to take care of herself. Meanwhile, I was standing. Right there, hadn't slept more than 4 hours in months. I'd lost 15 pounds, Beckos. I forgot to eat half the time. Had bruises on my arms from bumping into things because I was too exhausted to walk straight, but sure. Claire was the one we needed to worry about. "What about you, Sadie?" he'd ask, almost as an afterthought. "How are your classes going?" "I'm not in school anymore, Dad, remember? I dropped out to take care of you." He'd look confused for a moment, then sad. Then he'd pat my hand and say, "You're such a good girl, so reliable." "I don't know what I'd do without you." Reliable. That word became my identity. My whole existence. It's not brilliant like Claire. Not special. It's just reliable. Just there. Always there. Dad died on a Tuesday morning in March. The sun was coming up. I was holding his hand. We'd been up all night. His breathing had changed, gotten shallow and rattling. The hospice nurse had come by around midnight and given me that look. It's the one that says it won't be long now. She asked if I wanted to call anyone. I knew she meant Claire. I called. It went to voicemail. I called again and again. On the 4th try, she answered, groggy and annoyed. "Sadie, it's 3 a.m. there. What's wrong?" "It's Dad, you. Need to come now. The nurse says it's time." I heard rustling, like she was sitting up. "Time, like today. Time, like now time. Claire, please." Okay. Let me check flights. I'll get there as soon as I can." She didn't make it. Dad slipped away at 6:47, just as the light hit his face through the window. It's last. Words whispered so quietly I almost missed them. Were, "Tell Claire I'm proud of her, not me." Claire, I sat there holding his cooling hand for an hour before I could move. Before I could call the nurse, call the funeral home, call Claire back. And tell her she was too late. She arrived the next afternoon. I picked her up from the airport. She was wearing oversized sunglasses and a black cashmere coat. When she got in the car, she didn't hug me. She just said, "God, Sadie, you look terrible. When's the last time you slept?" I didn't answer. I just drove. The funeral was 4 days later. In those 4 days, I watched Claire transform into someone I didn't recognize. Or maybe someone I'd always known but never wanted to see clearly. She took over everything. Service, the flowers, the reception. She met with the pastor and cried beautifully while describing Dad's incredible strength and our family's journey. She greeted relatives at the door, accepting their condolences with perfect, trembling grace. At the wake, I stood in the corner like a ghost in my thrift store black dress while Claire held court in her designer suit. Dad's old colleagues surrounded her, offering sympathy. That's when I heard it. "These past few years have been the hardest of my life," she said, dabbing at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. "I put my entire career on hold to be here for him. I took a leave of absence. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else when he needed me most." The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually stumbled backward, knocking into a table. She was lying. Actually lying, okay? And everyone believed her because she looked the part. Because grief looked elegant on her. K, because she knew exactly what to say and how to say it. Your sister is remarkable. Mrs. Chen from Dad's church said to me later. Such devotion. You must be so proud of her. I opened my mouth, tried to speak. Actually, I was the one, but Claire appeared beside me, wrapping her arm around my shoulders, squeezing. Just hard enough to hurt. Sadie's been such a trooper too, she said sweetly. Haven't you, sis? We're a team. Then she leaned in close, her mouth by my ear, and whispered, Not now, Sadie. For once in your life, don't make this about you. Let Dad have a dignified funeral. Make this about me. Make this about me. I'd given up everything. Everything. And she was standing here stealing my story, erasing me from the last 3 years like I'd never existed. At the burial, Claire sobbed into a silk scarf. People hugged her, told her how strong she was, how much Dad loved her. How he must have been so grateful to have such a devoted daughter. I stood alone under a tree, watching dirt fall onto my father's casket, and realized something that made my blood turn cold. This wasn't just about the funeral. Claire had rewritten history. In her version, she was the hero, the selfless daughter, the one who sacrificed, and I was just the supporting character who happened to live nearby. I'd been erased completely. The day after the funeral, my phone rang at 9 a.m. I was still in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to remember how to feel anything other than numb. Miss Walker. This is Gerald Patterson, your father's attorney. I sat up slowly. Yes, I need you and your sister to come to my office tomorrow at 10. Your father left specific instructions. Both of you must be present. Claire was furious when I told her. She was packing her suitcase open on the guest bed, already half filled with her expensive clothes. Are you kidding me? I have a flight. At noon, can't he just email us the documents? He said we both have to be there, in person. She threw a blouse into her suitcase. This is ridiculous. It's probably just paperwork. The house, whatever savings he had, we'll split it 50-50 and be done with it. Something about the way she said it, so casual, so dismissive, made my hands clench into fists. Like Dad's entire life could be divided up and checked off a to-do list. The next morning, we sat in Mr. Patterson's office. Claire kept checking her phone, sighing dramatically every few minutes. I sat with my hands folded in my lap, wearing the same dress I'd worn to the funeral because it was the only nice thing. I owned Mr. Patterson was an older man with kind eyes. He pulled out a manila envelope, the kind that looked worn, like it had been handled many times. Your father came to see me about a month before he passed, he said quietly, was very clear about his wishes. He wrote this letter and asked that I read it to both of you, together after his death. Claire stopped scrolling on her phone. I stopped breathing. Mr. Patterson opened the envelope and pulled out 2 pages in Dad's shaky handwriting. When he started reading, his voice was gentle, but the words cut like glass. My dearest daughters, if you're hearing this, I'm gone, and there are things I need to say. Things I should have said when I was alive, but I was too proud, too stubborn, or maybe too much of a coward. I could feel tears already burning in my eyes. Claire, you are brilliant and successful, and I have always been proud of you. But I haven't been blind, sweetheart. I knew you only visited twice. I knew the photos you posted were from brief visits, not from being present. I knew that when I needed you most, you chose your career over your father. Claire's face had gone completely white. Her hand gripped the arm of the chair. I don't say this to hurt you. I say it because I enabled it. I made excuses for you. Told myself your career was important, that you were busy, that you loved me in your own way. But love isn't a phone call once a month. It isn't flowers and checks. It's showing up. And you didn't. The silence in the office was deafening. I could hear Claire's breathing, sharp and quick. Sadie. My name, in his words, made me break. My reliable, invisible, beautiful girl. You gave up everything for me. Your education, your 20s. Chance at a normal life. You worked yourself to exhaustion. You never complained, never asked for recognition, never made me feel like a burden, even though I know I was. I was crying now, silent tears streaming down my face. I didn't tell you enough how much it meant. How every morning when I woke up and you were there, I thanked God. How every night when you checked on me one more time before bed, I felt loved. How watching you sacrifice your dreams to save my life was both the greatest gift and the deepest guilt I've ever carried. Mr. Patterson paused, pulled out another document. His voice was steady, professional, but I could see emotion in his eyes. Therefore, I leave to Sadie the house, all savings accounts, and my investment portfolio. It's approximately $370,000. It won't give you back the years you lost, but maybe it'll give you a chance to start again. Claire made a sound, something between a gasp and a choke. To Claire, I leave my father's watch and all the family photo albums. Not because I love you less, but because you already have everything you need. What you lack isn't money or property. It's integrity. It's the ability to see beyond yourself. I hope someday you find it. I hope someday you understand what you've missed by not being here. The silence after Mr. Patterson finished reading lasted maybe 3 seconds. Then Claire exploded. This is insane. She shot out of her chair so fast it rolled backward and hit the wall. This is absolutely insane. I'm his daughter too. I have rights. Mr. Patterson remained calm, his hands folded on the desk. Your father was of sound mind when he made these decisions, Miss Walker. The will has been reviewed and is legally binding. Sadie poisoned him against me. Claire spun toward me, her face twisted with rage. You manipulated him. You isolated him. You turned a dying man against his own daughter so you could steal my inheritance. I just sat there. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. Some part of me had always known it would come to this. That Claire would never accept the truth. That she'd find a way to make herself the victim. Miss Walker, Mr. Patterson said firmly, I'd advise you to be very careful about making accusations. Careful? My sister is a con artist, and you're helping her. Claire's voice was shrill now, hysterical. I want a lawyer. I'm contesting this. I'll tie this up in court for years if I have to. Mr. Patterson opened a drawer and pulled out a leather journal. My heart stopped. I recognized it. Dad's journal, the one he'd kept by his bed. Your father anticipated this reaction, Mr. Patterson said quietly. He kept detailed records throughout his illness. Every hospital visit. Every treatment. Every person who was present. He documented. Everything with dates and times. He opened the journal to a random page and began reading. February 14th. Sadie took me to chemo at 6 a.m. before her shift at the clinic. Treatment lasted 4 hours. She held the bucket when I got sick. In the car on the way home, made me soup I couldn't eat but appreciated anyway. Claire sent a Valentine's Day text with a heart emoji. Claire's face was crimson. Stop it. But Mr. Patterson continued, flipping pages. April 3rd. Terrible pain today. Sadie called out of work to stay with me. She's lost so much already because of me. I heard her crying in the bathroom. Thinks I don't know how hard this is on her. Claire posted photos from Cancun. Work retreat. She looks happy. I said, stop it. Claire's voice cracked. July 22nd, Sadie's birthday. She spent it in the ER with me. Infection from the port. She turned 26 today. She should be celebrating with friends, living her life. Instead, she's here, holding my hand while they pump me full of antibiotics. I gave her a card. It wasn't enough. Nothing is enough. I was sobbing now, my whole body shaking. Mr. Patterson closed the journal gently. There are 3 years of entries like this, he said. Shall I continue? Claire grabbed her purse, her hands trembling. You're both going to regret this. I have lawyers, good lawyers. This isn't over. She stormed toward the door, then stopped and turned back to me. For a second, just a second, I thought I saw something in her eyes. Shame, maybe, or regret. But then it was gone, replaced by cold fury. You know what, Sadie? You win. You got what you always wanted, Dad's attention, his money. Congratulations. I hope it was worth wasting your entire life. The door slammed behind her. Mr. Patterson waited a moment, then handed me a tissue. Your father also left you this. He passed me a small envelope with my name on it in Dad's handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a short note. Sadie, by the time you read this, Claire will probably hate you. Skyla, she'll make you the villain in her story. Let her, you know the truth. You were there. You showed up. You loved me not because it was easy or convenient, but because that's who you are. You have a gift, sweetheart. The gift of actually caring about people. Don't let this experience make you bitter. Don't let Claire's anger poison the beautiful heart you have. Okay, take this money, go back to school, become the nurse you always wanted. Help people the way you help me. And know that every single day, even when I didn't say it, even when I talked too much about your sister, I knew you were the one who loved me enough to stay. I'm sorry I didn't tell you more. Often, I'm sorry I wasn't the father you deserved. But I see you, Sadie. I've always seen you. Love, Dad. I sat in that office and cried for everything. For the years I'd lost, for the father I'd loved, for the sister I'd never really had, for the girl I used to be before I learned what sacrifice really meant. But underneath the grief, something else was growing. Something that felt like freedom.